You've heard of angels and demons, but the Bible speaks of far worse monsters. Beings with lion faces, wings of fire, and all-seeing eyes. These weren't fairy tales, they were warnings. And today, we're revealing the most terrifying biblical creatures ever described. Number 14. Leviathan. From the depths of ancient waters emerges Leviathan, a creature so terrifying that it became synonymous with chaos itself. Job 41 paints a vivid picture of this monster with impenetrable scales, fire-breathing abilities, and strength that makes human weapons useless. Psalm 74:14 reveals its most shocking feature, multiple heads that God crushed and fed to desert creatures. This wasn't just a large sea animal, but a supernatural entity representing primordial forces opposing divine order. Ancient Near Eastern mythology describes similar creatures like Tiamat and Lotan, suggesting Leviathan drew from deeply rooted cultural fears of ocean monsters. Isaiah 27:1 calls it the twisting serpent and the dragon in the sea, emphasizing its serpentine, supernatural nature. The creature's fire-breathing ability wasn't metaphorical. Ancient texts describe actual flames and smoke emerging from its nostrils and mouth. Its scales were so tightly fitted that no air could pass between them, making it virtually indestructible. Leviathan's habitat in the deepest waters made it unreachable by human efforts, symbolizing humanity's inability to control or conquer certain aspects of creation. The monster's defeat by God demonstrates divine power over chaos, yet its continued existence in prophetic literature suggests ongoing spiritual battles between order and disorder that transcend physical reality.
Number 13. The Angel of Death. Throughout Scripture, the Angel of Death appears as God's instrument of judgment, wielding supernatural power to execute divine justice with terrifying efficiency. During Egypt's final plague, this being moved through the land in a single night, killing every firstborn not protected by lamb's blood. The angel's ability to distinguish between marked and unmarked homes demonstrated supernatural intelligence and precision. In another account, this same entity killed 185,000 Assyrian soldiers in one night, showing power that transcends human military capabilities. 2 Samuel describes the angel standing over Jerusalem with a drawn sword, ready to destroy the city until God commanded him to stop. This image of a supernatural warrior poised to execute judgment illustrates divine justice's immediacy and certainty. The angel's appearance often coincided with God's wrath against sin, making him a figure of both fear and respect. His role as executor of divine justice meant he couldn't be bargained with, bribed, or deterred from his mission. The angel's supernatural nature allowed him to move invisibly through human defenses, striking without warning or resistance. His presence reminded people that death ultimately remained under divine control, not human management.
I have a question for you. First, I would like to say that it is possible to follow the greatest curiosities of our world every day. But to do so, you need to be subscribed to our channel. So, are you already subscribed? If not, take the opportunity to subscribe now. Also, take the opportunity to like the video so YouTube will recommend more videos from our channel. So leave your like right now. And now that you have done that, let's go!
Number 12. Satan. Scripture presents Satan as the ultimate opponent of divine authority, a being whose rebellion against God created the spiritual warfare that affects all creation. Isaiah 14:12 describes his fall from heaven as Lucifer, the morning star who sought to exalt himself above divine authority. His transformation from light-bearer to prince of darkness illustrates the devastating consequences of pride and rebellion against God. Jesus witnessed Satan's fall like lightning from heaven, confirming his expulsion from divine presence due to his rebellion. The devil's role as tempter appears throughout Scripture, from his deception of Eve to his temptation of Jesus in the wilderness. His titles, Satan, adversary, devil, slanderer, and the dragon, emphasize different aspects of his opposition to divine purposes. His authority over earthly kingdoms, acknowledged by Jesus, shows his temporary but real power in the fallen world. The serpent's defeat in Revelation demonstrates that his rebellion, though temporarily successful, will ultimately fail. His ability to disguise himself as an angel of light makes him particularly dangerous, as he can deceive even sincere believers. The devil's knowledge of Scripture, demonstrated in his temptation of Jesus, shows his intelligence and cunning in spiritual warfare. His final judgment in the lake of fire provides hope for believers while emphasizing the ultimate triumph of divine justice over evil.
Number 11. The offenm. Ezekiel's visions describe offenm as living wheels covered with eyes, representing divine omniscience and the ability to move in any direction without turning. These creatures weren't mechanical objects, but living beings with intelligence and purpose, working in perfect harmony with cherubim. Their wheel-within-wheel structure allowed multi-directional movement, symbolizing divine authority that could operate in all dimensions simultaneously. The eyes covering their rims represented divine knowledge that saw everything and missed nothing in creation. Their movement, in perfect synchronization with the cherubim, showed the ordered nature of divine operations and celestial hierarchy. The offenm's role in Ezekiel's chariot vision emphasized their connection to divine throne and royal authority. Their ability to move without turning represented divine efficiency and the unchanging nature of divine purposes. The creature's living nature distinguished them from mere mechanical wheels, showing that divine operations involved personal beings rather than impersonal forces. Their association with the spirit of the cherubim demonstrated the unity of divine operations across different types of celestial beings. The offenm's appearance in prophetic visions served to emphasize God's mobility and active involvement in earthly affairs. Their supernatural characteristics reminded readers that divine operations transcended natural limitations and human understanding.
Number 10. The Witch of Endor. In one of Scripture's most chilling encounters, King Saul desperately seeks forbidden knowledge from a woman who communes with the dead. 1 Samuel 28 describes how Israel's first king, abandoned by God and facing certain defeat, turns to necromancy for guidance. The Witch of Endor possessed abilities that transcended normal human limitations, successfully summoning the prophet Samuel's spirit from the grave. Her immediate fear upon seeing the ghostly apparition suggests she rarely encountered such powerful manifestations. Samuel's spirit appeared not as a peaceful vision, but as a disturbing presence that pronounced doom upon Saul and his kingdom. The encounter reveals the dangerous allure of seeking supernatural knowledge through forbidden means. Ancient Hebrew law demanded death for practitioners of witchcraft, yet Saul's desperation drove him to risk everything for otherworldly counsel. The witch's ability to pierce the veil between life and death represented humanity's attempt to control forces beyond natural understanding. Her story serves as a warning about the consequences of abandoning divine guidance for occult practices.
Number 9. Lilith. Ancient Hebrew texts describe Lilith as a creature of night and desolation, dwelling in ruins and waste places abandoned by human civilization. Isaiah 34:14 places her among the wild beasts that will inhabit Edom's ruins, emphasizing her association with divine judgment and desolation. The name Lilith derives from the Hebrew word for night, connecting her to darkness and supernatural activities that occur beyond human sight. Ancient traditions describe her as a seductive demon who attacked men in their sleep and posed particular threats to pregnant women and newborns. Her ability to transform into various forms made her particularly dangerous, as she could appear as an attractive woman before revealing her true nature. The creature's association with owls and night birds in prophetic literature emphasized her connection to darkness and death. Her presence in desolate places served as a sign that divine judgment had transformed once thriving areas into supernatural wastelands. Lilith's role as a night demon reflected ancient fears about supernatural forces that operated in darkness. Her targeting of mothers and children showed her particular hatred for human reproduction and family life. The creature's ability to fly made her a formidable predator who could strike without warning. Her appearance in biblical literature served as a warning about the spiritual dangers present in areas abandoned by divine protection.
Number 8. The Beast from the Sea. Revelation 13 describes a monstrous entity rising from oceanic depths, embodying political power corrupted by satanic influence. This beast possesses 7 heads and 10 horns, representing multiple kingdoms united under demonic authority. Its heads bear blasphemous names, openly challenging divine sovereignty while demanding worship from Earth's inhabitants. The creature's appearance combines elements of leopard, bear, and lion, suggesting it incorporates characteristics from previous earthly empires. Ancient prophecies in Daniel provide the interpretive key, showing how this beast represents the final political system before Christ's return. Its mouth speaks great blasphemies against God, His name, His dwelling place, and those who live in heaven. The beast's authority extends for 42 months, a specific time frame that emphasizes God's ultimate control even over evil's temporary triumph. Nations worship both the dragon that empowers the beast and the beast itself, creating a worldwide religious political system opposing Christianity. The creature's ability to make war against saints and overcome them represents intense persecution of believers during the end times. Its universal authority over tribe, tongue, and nation shows how political power can become an instrument of spiritual oppression.
Number 7. Azazel. Leviticus 16 describes Azazel as the recipient of Israel's sins through the scapegoat ritual, representing a demonic entity dwelling in wilderness areas. This being's role in the Day of Atonement ceremony showed how divine justice dealt with human sin through symbolic transfer. The scapegoat bearing the people's sins was sent into the wilderness to Azazel, suggesting an actual spiritual entity rather than merely a place. Ancient traditions identified Azazel as a fallen angel who taught forbidden knowledge to humanity, connecting him to the corruption that led to divine judgment. His association with the desert emphasized the spiritual principle that sin led to separation from divine presence and blessing. The ritual's requirement that the scapegoat be released alive, never to return, showed that sins sent to Azazel were permanently removed from the community. His dwelling in uninhabited places reflected the spiritual desolation that resulted from divine judgment and abandonment. The demon's role as sin-bearer in the ritual demonstrated divine justice's requirement that sin be dealt with through proper channels. His connection to the wilderness made him a symbol of spiritual exile and separation from divine favor. The scapegoat ritual's effectiveness depended on Azazel's actual existence and ability to receive transferred guilt. His presence in the ceremonial system showed how divine law acknowledged spiritual realities beyond human understanding.
Number 6. The Seraphim. Isaiah's temple vision reveals Seraphim as 6-winged beings whose very name means burning ones, reflecting their association with divine fire and holiness. These creatures continuously proclaimed God's holiness while serving as agents of purification and divine judgment. Their 6 wings served specific functions, 2 covering their faces in reverence, 2 covering their feet in modesty, and 2 for flight in service. The Seraphim's position above God's throne indicated their exalted status and intimate relationship with divine presence. Their antiphonal worship created a response that shook the temple foundations, demonstrating the power of proper divine worship. One seraph's interaction with Isaiah involved touching his lips with a burning coal, symbolizing purification through divine fire. This act of purification prepared the prophet for his calling, showing the Seraphim's role in equipping divine servants. Their association with fire reflected both the purifying and destructive aspects of divine holiness. The Seraphim's constant worship demonstrated the proper response to divine presence, continuous acknowledgement of God's holiness. Their ability to fly indicated their readiness to serve divine purposes throughout creation. The creature's covering of faces and feet showed that even exalted beings must approach divine holiness with proper reverence.
Number 5. The Satyrs. Isaiah's prophecies describe satyrs dancing in desolate ruins, creatures that embody the chaos following divine judgment. These beings, called Seraphim in Hebrew, possessed goat-like characteristics while maintaining human intelligence and supernatural abilities. Their presence in abandoned cities symbolized the complete reversal of civilization, where order gave way to wild, demonic forces. Ancient texts describe them as hairy, wild beings that inhabited waste places and deserts, representing spiritual desolation. The satyrs dancing in ruins wasn't a celebration, but a mockery of human achievement, showing how quickly civilization crumbles without divine protection. Their goat-like appearance connected them to ancient fertility cults and pagan sacrificial practices that God condemned. These creatures served as manifestations of the spiritual forces that moved into areas abandoned by God's presence. Isaiah 13:21 specifically mentions them inhabiting Babylon's ruins, emphasizing divine judgment against pride and rebellion. The Satyrs' supernatural nature made them more than mere animals. They were intelligent beings that chose to dwell in desolation. Their appearance in prophetic literature serves as a warning about the consequences of turning away from God.
Number 4. Behemoth. Job 40 introduces us to Behemoth, a creature so massive and powerful that God uses it to humble human pride. This beast moves with the force of rushing rivers, its bones like bronze tubes and limbs like iron rods. The Hebrew description suggests something far beyond any known animal, a living embodiment of divine creative power. Behemoth feeds on grass like cattle, yet its strength could crush mountains. Its tail sways like a cedar tree, indicating enormous size and power. Ancient texts describe it as the first of God's works, suggesting it held special significance in creation's hierarchy. Some scholars believe Behemoth represents the primordial chaos that existed before divine order, while others see it as a real creature that once roamed Earth. The mystery deepens when considering that Behemoth was created alongside Job, implying humans and this monster shared the same world. Its peaceful nature, eating grass rather than flesh, makes it more terrifying, suggesting contained power that could unleash devastation if provoked. The creature's association with rivers and marshes places it in liminal spaces between land and water, order and chaos. Behemoth serves as a reminder that forces beyond human understanding and control exist in creation, demanding respect and humility before the divine.
Number 3. The Nephilim. Deep within Genesis lies one of humanity's most disturbing mysteries. The Nephilim emerged when divine beings crossed forbidden boundaries with mortal women, creating hybrid offspring that towered above ordinary humans. These weren't just tall individuals, they were titans of unprecedented strength and violence. Ancient Hebrew texts describe them as Gibborim, meaning mighty ones, suggesting beings whose power transcended natural limits. Their presence on earth became so corrupting that divine judgment followed through the Great Flood. Yet their legacy didn't end there. Numbers 13:33 reveals they somehow survived, terrorizing the Promised Land as descendants of Enoch. Archaeological discoveries across the globe continued to uncover skeletal remains of unusually large humans, fueling debates about these ancient giants. The Book of Enoch expands their story, describing how they taught forbidden knowledge to humanity, metallurgy, warfare, and cosmetics. Their corruption ran so deep that they consumed not just animals, but eventually turned to cannibalism. The Nephilim represent humanity's first encounter with beings that challenge the natural order, serving as a warning about the consequences of crossing divine boundaries.
Number 2. The unicorn. Biblical references to unicorns likely described powerful, single-horned creatures that represented untamable strength and divine creative power. Numbers 23:22 uses the unicorn to symbolize God's power in delivering Israel from Egypt, emphasizing supernatural strength beyond human capability. The creature's refusal to be domesticated or controlled by humans reflected divine sovereignty that cannot be manipulated or managed. Job 39:9-10 questions whether unicorns can be bound or made to serve human purposes, highlighting the distinction between divine and human authority. Deuteronomy 33:17 mentions unicorn horns in connection with military might, suggesting these creatures possessed formidable defensive capabilities. The unicorn's symbolic use in blessing and curse contexts showed its connection to divine power that could either protect or destroy. Its presence in prophetic literature emphasized God's ability to use powerful forces for his purposes while keeping them beyond human control. The creature's association with wilderness and freedom represented aspects of divine nature that remained untamed by human civilization. Its single horn became a symbol of focused power and singular purpose, reflecting divine unity and strength.
The unicorn's appearance in various biblical contexts showed its versatility as a symbol of divine attributes.
Number 1. The Four Horsemen. Revelation 6 unleashes 4 terrifying riders, whose arrival signals the end of human civilization. Each horseman represents a different aspect of global catastrophe, working in terrifying sequence to bring about final judgment. The first rider appears on a white horse, carrying a bow and wearing a crown, symbolizing conquest through deception and false peace. This figure has been interpreted as either Christ's victory or the Antichrist's rise, creating theological debates about the nature of divine judgment. The second horseman rides a red horse, wielding a great sword, to take peace from earth and incite warfare among nations. Ancient texts describe this rider as having power to make people kill each other, suggesting not just war, but societal breakdown and civil conflict. The third horseman on a black horse carries scales, representing famine and economic collapse, where basic food becomes luxury items. A voice declares the price of wheat and barley, showing how scarcity transforms daily necessities into precious commodities. The pale horse's rider is death itself, followed by Hades, given authority over a quarter of Earth's population. These aren't random disasters, but coordinated divine judgment, each building upon the previous to create complete civilizational collapse.
Now I have a special recommendation for you. Are you seeing this video that is appearing on the screen? Click on it because I'm sure you'll like it. Well, that's it. And until next time, Curious One.